say, hey, I can't stay late playing on my video game. You got things to do. You need to wake up early and read the morning news. Maybe I fit in if I tried a little more just to look like them. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried a little more just to act like them. Play my video game. 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 They say, hey, I can't spend all my money on my deadbeat friends. They need things to do. They need to go out and look for jobs, and you do too. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried a little more just to look like them. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried a little more just to act like them. Play my video game. Play my video game. Play my video game. Play my video game. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried to look like them. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried to be like them. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried to look like them. Maybe I'd fit in if I tried to be like. Play my video game. Play my video game. Play my video game. Play my video game. Play my video games.
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pans Esports Arena. I am your host tonight, Michael Fish Fisher, for an exciting night of esports. And joining me on the desk is Michael Fish Fisher. Thank you so much for being here. Jokes aside, we are taking this very seriously, of course, what's going on in the world. So in order to be at our utmost in terms of precautions, I will be out here in the Game Pans Arena by myself on the desk, but I will be joined by Glovely and Gem Mountain via the power of the internet throughout the night. So do not worry, it is not going to be 3 hours of Fish talking to himself, as much fun as that would be. But we have a lot in store tonight. The games must go on. Boise State will start with a League of Legends match, the Broncos versus Bay State, and a nice little show match here. Should be a lot of fun. Get League of Legends back in the swing of things. Going to be a lot of fun to see how some of the changes will affect the game we're going to see. But we will have that We will have Rocket League following that, and that is how we'll be able to maintain our sanity in the craziness that is everything going on here. So thank you so much for tuning in to join us tonight. Of course, no spectators allowed in the facility. A very, very skeleton crew in production to my left to make sure everything sounds as good as it can, and also so we can distract everybody with some great video games. So I'm excited for Boise State versus Bay State. There's your production, a two-man crew tonight. We are doing the most with the least here, trying to stay safe. I hope everyone's having a great day, staying safe at home, and being able to tune into Boise State esports here. So as I mentioned, I am Michael Fish Fisher here. I am up on the desk. Lovely and Jim Mountain will be joining me throughout the night, and we will be starting with some League of Legends against Bay State. It's been a while since we've seen the League of Legends team. The last time we had them on the stream, it was an unfortunate loss in 5 games to Colorado State in the Mountain West semifinals, but we have a lot in store. As we look at your keys to the game for Bay State, look for the early invade, time management, first dragon and tower, and never take a fair fight. Those have been Doc's keys to the game. They're brought to you by Boise State University. At Boise State, you can choose from more than 200 areas of study, and you'll have the chance to combine minors, certificates, internships, hands-on research, work opportunities, and so much more. To make your educational experience unique, visit boisestate.edu for more information. So as I said, we're starting off with League of Legends. Been a while. We have a couple of changes just to mount. Medicine will be in the jungle for Boise State, and Can't Get Dopamine will be in the bot lane, trading off with Gimmicks. So that is going to be your roster. You can see it right there on the screen in front of you. Woojin, Medicine, Red Hots, Dopamine, and Dean. A lot of familiar faces. Boise State trying to figure out the best comp as we wind down this spring semester, taking on Bay State, a very talented team. A lot of Diamond players on this team and what I saw in my pre-match research here. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Should be a very, very close series. And it'll be interesting to see if any of the 10.5 changes that just recently came out are going to come into effect here. Of course, we have the new Wukong. Riot trying to make some junglers more capable, especially Teemo. I've already been destroyed by multiple jungle Teemos, so I would love to see either of these teams try and bring that up. Of course, with the blind lasting 200% longer on minions, makes it a little bit easier for that annoying little muskrat to get around in the jungle and not take a lot of damage. We hop into picks and bans here. Olaf and Zillion being taken away by Boise State, and then we see Varus and Set taken away by Bay State. Set a very, very contested pick. Ornn going to be the last man away for Boise State here, so it's going to be interesting to see here. That's been a favorite of Woojin in the top lane when he's been able to get it, but clearly that is not something Boise State wants to play there today. Yes, Demon Monster Jungle Teemo, you'll be seeing it a lot more often, trust me. Riot definitely is trying to make everyone a viable jungler. Not that I agree with it, but they have definitely made it something that is much more viable. He's blind lasts so long. He can get through his clears surprisingly fast. Don't try to invade him. I made that mistake. Bard going to be the last ban here from Bay State. Boise State getting the first pick here. We'll see what they want to go with. A lot of the more contested top laners taken away. Set and Ornn, very, very strong. You can see an Aphelios pick come out here, one of those highly contested 80 carries. Thank you in the chat, McCheezu, for the love there. It's right back at you. Very, very disappointed. The second Bay band would be Set there in the chat. Very, very powerful top laner. Not someone you want to mess with. Misfortune, the pick for Boise State. They've had a lot of success with that. I am not surprised that they wanted to highly prioritize that, though she doesn't have a lot of escapability. She is mobile, but once you lock her down, once you attack her and get rid of that passive, that movement speed is gone. So you could see maybe some sort of heavy engage comp there. The Yuumi going to be picked up there. Those heals are very, very strong. So it's going to be interesting. And there's the Wukong hover. Wukong did recently get changed. He is going to be locked in. All of his abilities are new except for his ultimate, which still does the same spin and the knockup. But Riot trying with their 200 years of game-making experience to finally balance the champion that started that meme in the first place here. As we head into Boise State's pick here, I'll be curious to see what they want to lock down. With Ornn banned away and Set banned away, I would think Woojin's comfortable taking whatever tank they leave him with in the top lane there. It is going to be the Aurelia, actually. Could be a mid Aurelia, though. No, let's not get too excited and be thinking Woojin might be playing something crazy. We don't know, but I've seen a lot of a mid Aurelia as well. She's a very, very strong pick. Really just we all know the better Nerf Aurelia meme, so I'm not too concerned about that. I would love to see Red Hots play that. I know he's known for his assassins, but she can just be so dominant in the mid lane, especially against a Wukong, who is a little bit more tanky. Volibear going to be the pick. I like that one, and that's a classic Boise State pick because they can flex that so many places. Jungle Volibear, of course, we all know about that. Top Volibear, you can't really complain about it. Even support Volibear, we've seen Dean pull out some crazy things. Wouldn't be a bad choice. The Ezreal Hover, that would limit him. Of course, it makes it a little bit harder for him to get in range for his flip if they want to pick it. Switching all around, there is the Ezreal pick, so Boise State's going to have a hard time locking down the AD carry for Bay State, especially with the Yuumi on board. All of those heals, the only problem I would say is Ezreal doesn't just do a lot of damage, and especially if you go the Frozen Fist Ezreal build. Yeah, he has a lot of mobility, as we see the Mordekaiser and Trundle bands coming out, but he doesn't have that high damage that you're used to seeing for Misfortune, so I'll be very curious to see what is going to happen here. We do see the Nautilus, the final ban away there for Bay State, so they are not convinced, as I might have hinted to, that it is a support Volibear. They are fully convinced that is in the jungle, trying to ban out a top and a jungle or a support away from Boise State. And the Zac ban by Boise State, a very, very good jungler, very unique ganking paths. Really just he's impossible to prep for because you have to put wards in all these just very strange locations for that elastic slingshot. So I have no problems with that. We've seen Zacs just absolutely go wild sometimes on these streams because they can really get anywhere they want to be. Shen being hovered there, I don't know if I like that pick. I'm starting to see a lack of damage forming for Bay State. I've only played a couple new games with Wukong, but I haven't seen his damage as high as we're used to. They definitely made him more tanky, but they didn't really add much damage to him. I've seen him be very easy to kite, so the Shen pick, I like that, but where's the damage going to come from Bay State? It's got to come from your jungler or your mid laner if that is a jungle Wukong here. Boise State going to hover the Sejuani, just a classic tank jungler, the ability to get in, stun somebody down, activate your Sunfire Cave, maybe lock someone down at the Glacial Prison, and then set up the rest of your team. So for Boise State, they're going with a much more traditional lineup here. So we look for what could be the support. Maybe it's the top laner. We don't really know. I'm assuming a Sejuani means that Volibear is not going in the jungle. And we're going to have a Kali. So that definitely to me signals that is a support Volibear. And then a Kali and Aurelia, those can flip wherever you want them to. I would think it's going to be Red Hots on the Akali, but you never know what Woojin wants to pull out. And then the final pick here for Bay State. Hovering the Cassiopeia to me signals that they are in need of a mid laner even with the Wukong. Could be going top lane, could have a River Shen, a Jungle Shen if you want. So interesting compositions coming out from everybody here. I'll be very interested to see once we do these sort of swaps around who's going where. Actually, for right now, it is going to be a jungle Wukong. Okay, so he does have a shield when he goes into the brush now, and when he leaves, that was the new passive change in the latest Wukong patch. So he is going to be a little bit tankier when he comes out for these ganks. And for Boise State, of course, the iconic Akali, Red Hots, and then Woojin on the Aurelia in the top lane. That's something I would have expected, but I'm very excited to see how he's able to use that, especially against a Shen. Shen is totally okay with the traditional top lane we've seen of just trade back and forth and then teleport down into the fights. So I'll be very interested to see how this top lane goes. Does Boise State, maybe for the first time in a while, prioritize that? And look at that. I'm no longer alone. It's Glovely joining us. Glovely, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, guys.
How are you doing, Glovely? How is it like to be all by yourself without me hogging all the deck space?
I mean, I do appreciate having a little additional space, but it's just not the same having other people around, you know. It's a little lonely out here.
Well, we do have to take everything very seriously. So we just got done with the draft. I'm assuming you saw that. So what are your initial thoughts as we load into the game?
I'll admit I only got the back end of the draft as we were trying to get things set up so I could do this remotely. I do agree with you as far as the Shen pick goes. I don't think the damage to him. So that means that Wukong is generally going to have to go for a much more damage-oriented build rather than maybe a bruiser or tank style of build. There are some interesting things that you could do with that combination, though, because Wukong's stealth allows him to potentially carry Shen into the middle of a team fight under stealth. So that might be something we see coming out from that side.
Well, speaking of Wukong, he is the star of the latest Riot patch. So have you been able to experiment with you? Seen him against you or on your team? And what are your thoughts of the champion who spawned the 200-year meme finally getting his rework?
Well, I have played against him a couple of times. Actually played against him as a jungler at the time. And I have to admit that his damage is a lot scarier than people would might think. In particular, the ability for him to use his clones to create these situations where you think you're still fighting Wukong, but he's still, he's wandered off somewhere else and is setting up for the re-engagement with you, and the damage bonuses he gets with that. And he can now stack Conqueror. He's got the Black Cleaver that he can stack very quickly. So it's a much more terrifying fighter than you'd think.
We'll have to see if we finally achieved greatness with our 200 years meme. And for me, I think the biggest takeaway, though, you talked about the Shen, the other top lane matchup. We see Woojin on Aurelia. This is not a champion we've seen him on. This is not your traditional tank until 6 or even Enchantress until 6 and just be a support. What do we have to expect from Woojin in the top lane on really the first damage dealer we've seen him on? I think we've seen maybe one Mordekaiser game this year, but this is pure damage with Aurelia.
I could have sworn that we've seen him on Rumble at one point, but yeah, the Aurelia is definitely a very different look from Woojin. I'm excited to see what they do with it. She's that split push potential, and in a team fight, she can hard shut down an AD carry very quickly. Very hard to duel against her. Up against the Shen, I really do favor the Aurelia in that lane matchup, even though a lot of her damage does come from auto attack effects. And hey, now I think we
Look
have
at
the
that.
full
Now it's a real
full
party
trio.
where now we have Gem Mountain joining us. Welcome to the stream, Gem Mountain. It's just like a typical Thursday, Friday night. We're all just right here.
Well, I would say it's probably more like a typical Thursday, Friday night if it was like 2 years ago, because this is how we did stuff. Basically, 2 years ago, one person in front of, in the actual set, and then the other people, joining online. So at least now you get to live the early years of esports with us,
Yes.
Fish.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. I do like the shout out to the headsets, by the way. That's the exact same brand I own, so we can be friends, Gem Mountain. I can't see what Glovely has on. I don't know if he's got the HyperX on or not.
Do you want me to turn?
Oh,
this
yeah,
he's
he's got the HyperX. All right, we're good. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. You guys excited for some League of Legends?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing on my own over the course of this break. Haven't really had all that much time for going outside or doing anything like that. But how is that any different from normal, right?
Exactly. I feel like we were maybe the least affected. Jim, Matt, what about you? I know League of Legends, you're always one. You've been taking a lot more of an interest in it. Are you excited to watch some primetime League of Legends here?
Well, I admit that when I first logged in and I heard you talking about Teemo being a possibility, my ears perked up just to see such a notorious character finally get a time in the spotlight, but it doesn't look like that we're going to see that right now.
Hey, it's a best of 3. That means anything can happen. Riot,
yeah, a
Riot
best
put
of
in the
3.
patch. I'm excited for it. Glovely, by the way, since we're speaking about the patch while we wait, is there any other big changes besides Wukong and Teemo that you really want to talk about that we might see either tonight or in the coming games?
Well, of course, I'll always groan whenever Garen gets a nerf. So magic resistance reduced and crit damage reduced on the spin. I don't think that's going to hurt his viability too much. I still think he's going to be a perfectly viable champion that nobody plays. Thanks, guys.
Except you. Except
for me. Yeah. Up for the Garen. I don't actually have the patch notes pulled up. I'll have to do that while I have them.
I know that the highlights were, of course, the Teemo changes, the Zyra jungle changes, and then the Death Dance changes, making it more of a tanky item. And the Wukong, of course. We've talked about that, though. Those are the big ones that we're looking at, though.
The whole occurrence of them not choosing Garen is just the continuation in the long line of tradition of finding out what champions we specifically enjoy, and then avoiding those like the plague. I mean, it's basically the continuation of the general strategy of the team.
I will say I am blessed. Akali was always my favorite. I don't know if I agreed with the visual update. I like the old Akali model a little bit better, but Akali's been always my favorite. So maybe since I snuck in late, I was able to get away with Red Hots being an Akali player, which, by the way, Akali is not very strong right now. Not a lot of statistics to back that up. I think a 43rd out of 44 champions listed on some websites in terms of win percentage in the mid lane here. So even though Red Hots is a monster on it, it is going to be very, very interesting to see how he handles the re-changed Akali. As we load in here, we looked at Doc's Keys to the Game, mentioned the early invade, but for now, Boise State is simply content setting something up. Oh, it looks like Devil to Gray might get caught out here. Medicine and Woojin are there. Everyone's going to back away. No high fives exchange. They just want to make sure everybody knows where everyone is, and we should have traditional starts here in the jungle. Boise State now looks like they're going to set up for Medicine. Might be backing here for a red start with minions spawning. Ezreal going to try and put some damage onto Dean. Ward goes out just so they're able to track that. That should be nothing in terms of Volibear. He should be able to easily regen that health before anything happens. I will say, though, with Medicine backing, he might not be to red buff in time, so Boise State will have to start that one up. Devil to Gray going to start at blue as well, so we'll have traditional jungle starts. They might be heading right up to the top lane. We haven't seen a lot of ganks for Boise State in the top lane, but would not shock me here. Red Hot's going to put out some early trade damage onto Cow there. Akali can be very strong, but of course the Q energy nerf might make it a little bit harder as he goes higher and higher in order to sustain it. Of course, Cassiopeia, one of those awkward little hyper carries with Conqueror that can be very, very deadly for Boise State.
Yeah, what we do have to consider, though, is the fact that going to have Echoes the mana, which means it allows her to sustain herself in lane much longer than the Cassiopeia is, at least in the early game, before Cassiopeia is able to back and get her tier.
And as I do take a look at the Summoner's Glove, it is interesting to me. We only have one Ignite on the side of Boise State. That's on Dean, with Red Hots opting for the teleport, and then Cow, of course, opting for the exhaust. This, to me, sounds like it's going to be a very initiative-heavy game. It's a flash from Dean, a flip over onto ADC. Damage coming out, but the healing from Yuumi might be enough to sustain it. Dean can't get Dopamine, dropping just as low, so a big trade in the bot lane. Disadvantage for Boise State because Yumi's going to have those heals over time.
This is why we don't see here as a simple lane. Very hard for him to engage. He's forced to use the Hex Flash there in order to try and engage. Because of his Flash being on cooldown, whenever he has that off cooldown, so hard for anything into the lane. We do see Red Hots there getting a nice trade there in the mid lane. But really the biggest issue here now as we engage in the top lane. Here comes Sejuani. Doesn't able to pin anything down. Now we see the junglers coming out from the bush. Nobody's going to continue this engagement.
Yeah, that was a good job there. Devil to Gray is going to find Medicine out with his sweeper. He knows he's right there in the tri-bush. Going to use the clone. Looks like Medicine attacked the wrong one of those changes we just talked about. Going to try and dive into the tower. First blood's going to be picked up. The Triumph heal might be enough. Yes, it is. Devil to Gray is going to get out. Woojin can't chase him. And we do see Cassiopeia rotating over. Red Hot's not there, so the Triumph heal just enough to keep him alive and get first blood for Bay State.
Yeah, and that's Wukong in the early game. He's so slippery and hard to keep track of because of those clones, because he has all that additional movement. He now has a dash on his decoy, which gives him additional movement. Now we see Wukong coming into the mid lane, but it looks like Red Hots knows that he's coming, is able to back away.
Red Hots did use teleport there to get back into the lane after backing, and really didn't have that powerful of a back. Usually when you see an Akali back, it's for the Hextech Revolver. That's not the case, just the amplifying tome being picked up there and some more health. Dean going to go in, he's going to get the knockup. Yuumi jumped off Ezreal, that could be huge. The Ignite's going to go out onto Etor, dropping very low. Shield comes out, Dopamine gets the flash. That's a kill for Boise State, but here comes Devil to Gray. Dopamine's trying to walk away, distract the Wukong. That's not going to work. ADC dueling, can't get Dopamine. That should be a win for Bay State. It's going to be a one-for-one trade, but a huge misplay by the Yuumi. Falling off of Ezreal, trying to get that mana back on the passive, and just gets flipped over by Volibear, and that's a dead kitty cat.
Yeah, that was a really smart move there by Can't Get Dopamine to try and move up from the bot lane. Draw pressure off of the support, so at least one of them is able to live through the gank. The Wukong's not going to get that far ahead as a result. But yes, big misplay there by the Yuumi. You don't want to hop off of your Ezreal at a crucial like that when a Volibear is able to jump on top of you.
Yeah, we talked about the downsides of Volibear support, but that's the upsides. If you can find a squishy support like a Yuumi, you flip her over, and that is a dead Yuumi. And also the one bright side about Volibear is when you do flip Ezreal, you are technically flipping two champions. Because Yuumi is always going to be attached to Ezreal, or at least should be, you're going to get a double flip here. So that is something Boise State can use, is Volibear basically is CCing two champions at once.
Red Hot's just doing a little bit of poke damage here as the teams are looking for their setups. We do see that they have Boise State has figured out in the bot lane that the flash track Hextraption isn't going to enable them to engage from in lane very easily, so he's moved off to the side there. But Red Hots goes in, does get exhausted, uses a shuriken flip, and there's the perfect execution. Red Hots picks up an elimination.
That is the weakness to Cassiopeia. If you can hit 6 before her, she's not going to have her ultimate. You can just fully engage through the exhaust. Red Hot showing the power of the Akali. It will be interesting to know, Bay State has 2 Tear the Goddess users, both expected, of course, the Cassiopeia and Ezreal. So Boise State's goal has to be getting this game over as quickly as possible and punishing these champions while they're just stacking a Tear the Goddess and no other items.
And that might be the idea behind Bay State picking the Shen and picking the Yumi and picking the Wukong, because they have a lot of early game power. Meanwhile, bot lane, there's a huge engagement, but they are able to get away. Volibear is going to be forced to walk away. Dean has half a health bar. Meanwhile, engagement in the top lane. Kiori gets engaged upon by Wujin, putting down a lot of damage. Fully stacks his passive. There's the ultimate. Goes in. Kiori has nowhere to run. Wujin picks up the elimination for himself.
Yeah, that is the power of Aurelia and can be the downside when you're trying to play a tank into her. She just does so much damage. And once again, Boise State really capitalizing on hitting 6 before the opponent. Now, Shen's ultimate, of course, not going to do much. He could teleport away if Wujin doesn't have the stun up. But Boise State, once again, that's 2 kills now where they've just hit 6 first and they've immediately gone in. So that, to me, tells me if Cake gets open and can hit 6 before Ezreal can, that's going to be an all-in for Boise State in the bot lane as well.
You do have to remember that bot lane has a much more difficult time finding the all-in than the other 2 lanes will, so they are going to have to be very careful about hitting that level 6 power spike. There's also a Wukong looking for something sort of opening, maybe predicting that they're going to try and go in with that level 6 power spike, but it looks like they're not going to go for it. They're going to back away and maybe move around the dragon.
Yeah, the pings coming out from Bay State right onto the Dragon. Medicine is sitting there over by the campus. Red Hots is actually going to engage onto Cow, doing a ton of damage. A little bit extra as well. The perfect execution almost off cooldown as well with the changes. That is going to be a free Ocean Drake over to the side of Bay State, though. Give them some extra healing. Red Hots chasing down into the jungle, trying to run away now as he realizes there is more than just a Cassiopeia there, taking some poke damage as well. But for Boise State, last thing you want to see is your opponent get an Ocean Dragon just because of how powerful that dragon is.
Yeah, that was actually almost really dangerous as well. As we do have an engagement, Medicine forced to flash away, but the ult does come out from Wukong, not able to follow that up. Volibear finds a target, but he's found a decoy, doesn't dive in on it. There goes the ultimate second knock up. True Shot Barrage hits nobody, and Boise State might have some bleeding health bars, but they're able to walk out of that alive.
Everybody's coming down. It's a huge party here. Red Hots is there. Stand United going to come out on the Devil to Gray. Red Hots is chasing. Wujin came down as well. And Shen might find himself out of position. Flipped over by Volibear. Is forced to flash over the wall. Second perfect execution comes out from Red Hots just to get some distance. But a lot of teleports, a lot of action, and no kills. So we're right where we were.
Yeah, and that was a lot of pressure burned in what was an aggressive move from Bay State. So overall, I think Boise State may be the winners on that little situation. Now they have the aggression in the lane as they force multiple people to blow all of their ability to get to that bottom side of the map, and can now use that pressure to push into a much better position, especially now that Dragon's not an issue to worry about.
Yeah, no teleport available for Shen, no Stand United available for Shen. Wujin blowing teleport there as well. Red Hot's teleport is coming up, though, and the flash used by Medicine at the start of all that as well. So a ton of summoners coming out for not a lot. Red Hot's dropping very low there. As we get towards the mid-mark here, Glovely, anything catching your eye when we look at these items that are starting to be built?
Just looking at a glance, nothing too crazy. I do see that Shen has opted for the Tiamat build to give himself a little more wave clear and damage in the fight against that Irelia. And that's going to be important for his ability to duel her, because it is important for him to not only have the wave clear that you might get from, say, a Sunfire Cape, but it's important that he's not just going to get destroyed in that 1v1 as we saw earlier when he hit level 6, but he might be caught out. He's able to dodge around that. But here comes Sejuani out from the bot lane. There's the ultimate to engage. Kiori is caught on his own. Nothing he can do. Wujin picks up the elimination.
Great job there by Wujin, starting to get ahead on Aurelia. And I do want to point out with the junglers, Devil the Great going with the red smite. And where do you just stand in terms of red versus blue, Glovely? Do you have a preference? I'm more of just a blue smite guy because I just think the slow is so overpowered. I know the burn and the damage reduction for red's nice, but when you don't have a duelist jungle against you, I kind of think Wukong should have just gone for the blue smite, just trying to get some slows onto guys like Volibear, Misfortune, or Akali.
I think it depends on the way that you're playing the champion. If you're intending to go into the opponent's jungle to invade them and try and pick a fight with them, and you think that they're going to pick a fight with you, like,
Engagement here going to
You do
come
see
out. The last chapter was used there globally, not to overtalk you, but you are cutting up there just a little bit, so hopefully we can secure that connection so we don't think that Glovely is turned into a robot. Devil the Gray is behind the Boise State bot lane. Medicine, meanwhile, is going to jump onto Kiori, going to try and land that stun. Not quite able to get it in the tower there, is able to push him away, but for now, Bay State still wants to make a play in the bot lane. We are going to see Rift Herald come out, and the three-man dive goes up top. Red Hots wants to jump onto Kaori, doing a little bit. Perfect execution is still available, but under a tower, Shen doesn't even matter. Who needs a taunt when you're dead? Red Hots picks it up. First turret goes over to the side of Boise State, but in the meanwhile, the four-man dive is up and available in the bot lane. Boise State can escort the Herald at least to the tier 2 top tower, get a charge out. Bullet time is going to be committed by Kank and Dopamine to clear that wave. Devil the Gray not dropping that low. The clone fooled me just like it's fooled everyone else this game with its ability to move around and attack. But Boise State for now surviving that four-man tower dive.
Yeah, great job by Boise State to survive that tower dive. In addition, putting a lot of pressure on the top side of the map. That's going to free up Woojin to be able to roam from top lane to the other sides of the map. And on top of that, it puts a lot more pressure on Shen, forcing him to stay where he is, because otherwise he could lose that wave heading in towards his tower.
The pressure Dean puts out, just even when he goes on all fours to try and get the flip, he's not even close to an Ezreal who still can just Arcane Shift away. They immediately retreat. That just shows how much respect Bay State has for Dean and his play on Volibear.
Yeah, when Volibear gets on top of you, it's a really dangerous situation. Now we see Kiori, or no, pardon me, Woojin coming in from the top lane. Isn't able to catch out the Wukong, only gets the decoys, so he's going to be able to walk away safely there, but now it looks like it might be brewing.
We are going to see the Shuriken land onto Cow there, but I don't know if that's going to be a follow-up from Red Hots or not. Tower diving a Cassiopeia, especially with her ultimate available, would just be a death sentence if the stun lands. And I do think that something interesting, Triforce is really synonymous as we see Boise State grabbing the Cloud Drake with really no contest. Triforce is just synonymous with Aurelia, but Woojin going for the Blade of the Ruined King as his first item. Anything you can take away from that, Glovely?
Blade of the Ruined King is really good when you're going up into tankier builds. So champions that build a lot of armor, a lot of health, a lot of magic resist, just because you need to be able to chew through those very quickly. So against champions like, say, the Sejuani and the Volibear on the side of Boise State, or alternatively, the Shen and even the Wukong on the side of Bay State, really great for being able to eat through big health bars.
We'll have to see, but Woojin definitely enjoying a huge early lead. 2-0, 121 CS, back as the top person there. We do see Denver Yeti say he's trying to talk Gem off the ledge. Is it because Teemo's not being played? Is that why we're talking him off the edge? Because we'll see Teemo. If we don't see Teemo, I'll be disappointed. They made him a viable jungler for a reason. And I don't like it, Glovely, by the way. I think it's a very, very bad idea to make Teemo a viable jungler.
I don't know. I think that Teemo as a jungler could be at least really good for Teemo himself. A lot of his power comes from his ability to set up his mushrooms all across the map, and the more free Teemo is to roam around like that, the more pressure he can put out with those mushrooms. So it could be a very different style of jungler than we've seen before. Meanwhile, we see Red Hots gets 2 Qs down onto that Cassiopeia, drops health bar by half.
Yeah, I mean, when you give Teemo more power to roam, it's annoying, and from my experience, good luck getting neutral objectives because there is a mushroom minefield waiting for you because the Teemo, of course, being the jungler, already has to be at that fight. He's not in the top lane, so he is free to go wherever he wants. Boise State right now doing a fantastic job. They have the 3K gold lead. They have only the 2 towers that have been destroyed in the game. Red Hots has been making Cow's mid lane experience a living nightmare, just always being behind this Akali in level. Has opted for the Sork shoes. Surprised he didn't go for the Merc Stretch. Those are usually the default item on Akali, but Red Hot signaling he doesn't think there's going to be a lot of magic resist built in this game, and he wants to absolutely destroy these health bars early, which you can't complain about it with 2 Tier of the Goddess champions on the side of Bay State. The longer this game goes, the less chance Boise State really has to win.
Yeah, Boise State really needs to emphasize that early game, and I do think the Volibear is really good for that, which, so credit to them for that, for making that decision to try and emphasize their early game. We do see an engagement to hear from Red Hots onto the Cassiopeia. Health bars are low, exhaust comes out, is able to survive only long enough to get the Shuriken flip. but he is going to get shut down in response. So great play there from Bay State.
And that shutdown is going to be huge, getting that Cassiopeia some extra gold, but Woojin has been doing a fantastic job. But so has Red Hots has been doing a fantastic job of dominating. Speaking of Woojin, just like that, he's the man of the hour, jumps onto Double the Gray. Stand United is going to be used. Boise State just simply going to disengage, but Kaioya has other ideas. Tries to get the taunt, but that's not going to be enough, so Boise State able to disengage. True Shot Barrage just going to go down on to Can't Get Dopamine, try and clear out that wave, stop him from taking a third tower for the Broncos.
Yeah, caught out there in the jungle, didn't quite have the vision to be right, so Boise State smartly backing away from one fight that they just weren't able to take in that moment.
I'm very surprised that Bay State doesn't have their Shen split pushing. That's where a lot of his power comes from, is the ability to stand united into fights, the ability to teleport into fights. And with Boise State taking out 2 towers in the top lane, he would have a lot of that free farm, but you do see Cassiopeia going to be the one maybe rotating up there. Nope, just wanted to place a ward and then walk away. So I'm very surprised that they haven't been more aggressive trying to get Shen ahead to the point where he can be that tank. Meanwhile, Red Hot's going to jump right on to Cow. He knows the ultimate is down. Perfect execution. Just like that, it's an execution. And Boise State, Red Hot's on the signature Akali has been his old form.
Yeah, the perfect execution is a much lower cooldown than Cassiopeia's Petrifying Gaze. It allows him to pick these fights much more frequently as a result, and to just jump on targets with impunity. Maybe the Cassiopeia idea was to throw out the Miasma to use that grounded effect to prevent the Akali from being able to jump in so easily, but he hasn't been able to consistently land it before Akali is already in range. And now Red Hots is going to pick up a tower for his team.
And he's going to pick up the tower. Boise State is going to pick up Shelly as well. Double the Gray was in the bot lane, going to use his clone. Can't get there. His bot lane a little bit too distracted, taking blue buff, so no engagement going to be there. Boise State doing a fantastic job. But that Ezreal is farming very, very well. Can't get dopamine sitting in a bush. There's nobody, there's no way they know because you can see the pink ward there. So if an engagement wants to come out, Dean has the flash, and here they go. Rolling Thunder going to flip over Ezreal right on. Here comes the teleport down. In the meanwhile, Red Hots is still just punishing Cal. He is able to dodge the ultimate, and they pick up 1 kill. Meanwhile, the bot lane, Double the Gray is ignited. He's going to disengage, jump right onto Medicine. That's 1 kill over to Bay State. The bullet time is going to eliminate Ezreal. Shen as well will go down. That's a dead Yuumi. Double the Gray tries to save it for no apparent reason, and Boise State is going to pick up the ace.
The positioning there from Boise State was great for setting Bay State up for a bullet time right into the middle of 3 members of their team. And really, Woojin at this point is so far ahead. He puts down so much damage over the course of that team fight to set them up for this dragon. And of course, Infernal Drake now going to push that damage even further.
I mean, Red Hots has just been doing a fantastic job, just not even let Cow do anything in his lane, punishing him basically anytime he leaves his own turret, and that really set up that fight because you don't have that Cassiopeia rotating down, you don't have that really annoying damage or the stun. They had to use the Petrifying Gaze, and Red Hots did a fantastic job dodging it. So for Boise State, this mid lane matchup has really sort of dictated who's winning this match, and it's been Boise State by a long shot in both cases.
Yeah, they've been doing such a great job of controlling the map and really controlling all of these team fights. Boise State, sometimes we see them struggle in the 1 versus 1 lanes, but in this scenario, like, we're seeing them win almost across the map here.
I will say, though, that Ezreal is very scary, almost up to 200 CS, by far and away the most in the game. He has already finished his Mirror Mana, getting all the stacks needed, and we aren't even at 20 minutes yet, and he just needs the Stinger and the Triforce finish for that, so he is going to go on a very, very high power spike very soon. But as I said in the intro, Glovely, even with all those items, I still feel like Ezreal's damage is a little bit lower compared to someone like a Misfortune.
Yeah, Misfortune is definitely going to be feeling a lot stronger early on in the game. Ezreal really needs the ability to scale up, to get those big items. We talk about Trinity Force and Muramana, and once he has those 2 items, then maybe you start feeling his effects, whereas Misfortune's power is a lot more immediate. You feel the slows, you feel damage across your entire team, you get the extra crit, potentially from the double tap, and of course the attack speed advantage that she can have onto towers.
Ezreal getting pinged out. Boise State does not know Devil to Gray is hiding there, but they will disengage with the Rolling Thunder falling off on Dean and take some of that poke damage here. But Boise State pushing up, double tap going to the land. There is the Glacial Prison. Stand United going to come out, but it might not be enough. No, it isn't. A double kill from the bullet time for Kankia Dopamine, and Boise State just punishing Bay State for leaving the safety of their towers.
And on top of that, they burned the Stand United, so that Shen now doesn't have a way to be able to engage as quickly from across the map without his teleport. And that can take so much more time. Not to mention just the sheer damage output they needed in order to get through a Stand United is incredible. Looks like that Returnal is only going to pick up one tower, but they do have a huge pressure advantage now.
Yeah, unfortunately, the wave pushed right at the wrong time as we see the replay here. Ezreal thought he got away, but all he did was arcane shift right to his own demise. And that is sort of the one problem with playing Yuumi, is you are 100% reliant on your AD carry or whoever you are riding alongside of to put you in the right position. And so far, Bay State just has kind of had this Yuumi caught out to dry whenever her Ezreal goes down.
Yeah, we've also seen Yuumi jump off Ezreal at really inopportune moments. And you have to be very careful with that champion, your ability to jump on and off. Ever since Riot changed the champion so that she had to jump off in order to be more effective.
Yeah, Boise State will have to see how they want to handle this Yuumi here and how they want to just continue to punish the side of Bay State. They currently have a 9K gold lead. Rolling Thunder going to go in. Dean not quite able to get to Devil to Gray as he does put out the clone. Going to let everybody know that it's okay, and Boise State will continue to dominate. Just like that, Red Hot's going to jump onto Cal Perfect Execution Part 1 use. He is going to get some by the Petrifying Gaze. Flash and Exhaust are going to come out, but neither of them matter. Red Hot has just been following this Cassiopeia and punishing her for going anywhere.
That was a great Petrifying Gaze, but if you can't see the Acolyte to be able to land your Twin Fangs on her, what can you do? I mean, you have to be able to see the target to be able to put out the damage. And now we see Boise State coming in from the jungle. And once more, the bot lane from Bay State is being caught out.
Bullet time melting there, and Red Hot's 7-1-1 on that Akali has the Hextech Gunblade, and now working on the Oblivion Orb there. Boise State having so much more damage in that mid lane there. We are going to see the ultimate used there by Dean, just put out some chip damage. Nothing going to come of it, though, as the turret wave is going to melt. Meanwhile, the Woojin in the top lane on that Aurelia going to pick up that top inhibitor turret. Boise State trying to disengage. That is something very hard to do from an Ezreal that has a Yuumi buffing his speed, but they all have to disengage. Teleport is coming out from Woojin. He is going to go right in. Red Hot uses teleport as well. Boise State wants to finish this fight. We are going to see the Zanyas come out from Red Hot's. Kaori is caught out with a True Shot Barrage. Will just clip Red Hot's, giving that shutdown gold over to Ezreal. So all things considered, Glovely, I got to say that's a win for Bay State. Double teleport and a shutdown onto their AD carry.
Yeah, Boise State really committed those resources. Looks like they might still be looking on the back line. Woojin is separated from the rest of his team, so a bit of positioning error. It's 2 versus 1 here. Woojin now caught out. Health is low, goes in, but is shut down. 2 shutdowns onto this Ezreal now. This could be the win condition for Bay State to come back.
That's a lot of gold onto that Ezreal. Infernal Dragon going to be started up by Bay State. It is a 4v5. The Shen does have his teleport when he respawns, but not the Stand United, so Boise State will disengage. Infernal for both sides is going to go over. I do see in the chat if this is the tournament realm or the live realm. This is, I believe, the live realm because the Wukong patch is live right now. We don't need to be on the tournament realm for that. The Wukong patch did come out, if not last night, the night before. I have played against it in my own game, so I know that's not the case that it needs to be on the PvE. So for Boise State and Bay State, I believe it's on the live servers because Riot has been pushing out these patches. If there's one thing you're going to say, they have definitely been more aggressive in the last couple months, putting out a ton of patches, Glovely.
Yeah, they've been making a lot of progress on the game, and I'm certainly glad they have, especially for those of us who have been trapped inside and playing the same game over and over and over. I mean, the game can feel pretty stale if there's so much time spent on it over and over and over again. But I do think that their usual patch cadence, their 2-week patch cadence, has been just fine. It's given them the ability to update the game, allow us to get used to things without it feeling too stale.
I'm very curious. I'm waiting for this Ezreal to back, but it doesn't matter. Glacial Burst is going to come out onto Cow. He's going to take a ton of damage. Yuumi can't get away either. That shield's not going to save you. And just like that, Boise State says, nice double kill, Ezreal. How about we give one to Can't Get Dopamine?
Yeah, you can't be reliant entirely on Ezreal and then have a split push across the map. Splitting up your forces means you're not going to have those champions in position to where they can deal the most damage. And now it's Boise State who's got the ability to split push. We do see Dean come around the side, trying to find an engagement, not able to get it. But now Boise State continues to pressure towers.
And just like that, an all-in, Double the Grace going to jump onto Uchi, going to get the knock-up. The bullet time is going to be disrupted. Their stand united on Double the Grace, not going to be enough. It's not enough to save him, so it's a 1-for-1. And meanwhile, in the bot lane, Red Hots and Dean are going to pick up that T2 turret, and they might want a sandwich on the members of Bay State. We see the pings coming out, Red Hots up there, but Boise State might want to smartly disengage, but the Shuriken lands, and you've got to take it. That's the rule. Boise State putting some damage out, but it is a Shen, so the damage is minimal.
Yeah, that'd be negligible, but the damage Boise State is doing to this tower is not. They are forced to back away. Those waves are going to get cleared by their team. Bay State now moving up in that mid lane. They have multiple members, but Red Hot's still almost left on his own. The only opponent there, the Cassiopeia. We've seen how that ended. Stealth through, gets the Q, perfect execution. Goodbye, Whoa.
Yeah, Cassiopeia has just not had fun this match. I'm guessing the first ban in the next game is going to be a Kali. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They have just not enjoyed much success in that mid lane. We do see a chase going down in the top side jungle, but nothing is going to come of it. Dean is off there split pushing. Blast Cone is going to put Ezreal in a very interesting spot. Kaori has to taunt back in to try and close the gap, but luckily for everybody involved, it's a full-on disengage here as we do see this instant replay. Boise State has just done an absolutely impressive job of shutting down this Cassiopeia, not letting her get to the hyper carry status. And once again, Yumi's in a spot where as soon as the champion she's attached to goes down, she just doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, and if you'll look back at your main map, Boise State continuing to put pressure onto these inhibitors now. Don't quite have either of them down, but the health bars are very low. If they could just find an opening onto one of them and bring it down, they'll continue to just catapult their pressure forward.
Yeah, you could see Boise State potentially setting up for a Dragon still over a minute away, or even maybe a Baron if you can get some of those inhibitors taken down, catch Bay State in their own base trying to clear. We did see the Ezreal picked up a Blade of the Rune King with his shutdown gold, and now going to go for the Quicksilver Sash. That is an interesting choices in Ezreal. I always felt your one advantage was your ability to avoid CC, so by paying the Quicksilver Sash tax and maybe passing up on building a Bloodthirster or something else, he's hurting his damage just to be able to avoid the CC Boise State does have.
Now, the Mercurial Scimitar is still a great item, and Ezreal can take full advantage of it. But I think the main thing is that he just doesn't want to get caught out by the Irelia, by the Sejuani. They have so much crowd control that he could potentially get locked down by. And because he's been out of position and bringing Yuumi along for the ride, he's got a lot of gold that they could have otherwise saved if he had just been able to jump out of that crowd control.
Medicine setting something up here. Double the Grey is going to walk right into it. He's going to pop the ultimate there. The damage coming out. And that health bar just disappears. Stand United not going to be enough to save him. Bullet time is going to be canceled there. Red Hot is in the back line. He says that Quicksilver Sash isn't going to keep you alive for my damage. Oh my gosh, he's just barely alive, but the Yuumi heal and Blade of the Rune King are going to keep him alive. The Zanyas is going to come out. Yuumi is going to fall. Shen should be the next one to go down with no tower in sight and a stun coming out for Medicine. So, Yal the Ezreal is able to escape. It doesn't matter for the rest of his team. 3 members go down. Dean wants the chase. Passive is going to be popped. He's going to say thank you very much for the heal, and Boise State should be able to clean up these inhibitors.
Yeah, once you win that team fight, the base is pretty much wide open for Boise State. That's 2 inhibitors down. They could continue pushing. Actually, 3 inhibitors going to go down for the side of Boise State. That'll give them sure to take Dragon, take Baron, take whatever they want.
Now we have seen the Infernal Dragon has spawned. It does look like Bay State is the one throwing out some pings, knowing Boise State could be headed right there with Kinky Dopamine at full life and a teleport up on Woojin. I would be very shocked if Bay State does any attempt to try and steal this away. They will just hand this over to the Broncos, knowing they can live to fight another day. It's now going to be soul point so they can survive, maybe take that next dragon, or really if they want to stall out all the way for that dragon to go down and then an Elder Dragon going over to the side of Bay State. But for them, I think their biggest concern right now, Glovely, has to be how fast Boise State hops onto this Baron with 3 inhibitors.
Yeah, I think that really they do have things that their team does scale up a lot longer and more over time with the Ezreal and the Cassiopeia. But unfortunately, like at this point, they're so far behind, and now we see the engagement at top.
Does look like Red Hots might have just been running some reconnaissance, distracting. All 5 members of Bay State are not pleased with Red Hots' play. He's going to pick up the Baron, but I do think that's going to leave him as a sitting duck, unfortunately. We do see Ezreal chasing him down. He is going to go on a killing spree there with that, but it will not matter. You now have 4 members of the Broncos team with Baron buff, and with super minions in every lane, Lovely, the question becomes how fast can Boise State end this game, something we've sometimes seen them struggle with there this semester. You see Boise State walking into the base with the Baron buff. The wave clear for Bay State. You can't really complain about it. Cassiopeia has a ton of PvE damage onto minions and objectives, but it doesn't matter. With all those Baron buff super minions, the towers are just melting regardless of what Boise State is doing. The engage is going to come on. Bullet time used to disengage. A ton of damage comes out to Devil to Gray. My goodness, can't get dopamine at 9, 1, and 6 on that misfortune, showing why Boise State first picked that. Ezreal going to drop very low as well. Dean is going to flip the Cassiopeia over. It's not going to matter if the Petrifying Gaze lands. It was after the Glacial Prison, so a stun and a kill are going to land. Woojin's going to ult in onto the Ezreal, taking a ton of damage. A double kill. Sarah Scotch is going to come out as well. Not enough to get to the Ezreal, but he's the only man left alive. He's going to have to go to his back to his fountain with a triple kill going over to Dopamine, and that's enough time for Boise State to take down the Nexus, and they're going to pick up that Game 1 victory. You are watching Boise State take on Bay State College here in League of Legends. A fun little show match here between the two teams just to help give us a distraction from everything that's going on in the real world. And also, when you're quarantined, what's better than watching League of Legends play here at Boise State? So we just saw the Broncos take Game 1. I am Michael Fish Fisher. I am solo up here on the desk, but I am not the only voice you've heard. If you've noticed that tonight, we do have Glovely and Gem Mountain joining us via the power of the internet. There they are. And guys, what are your reactions to that Game 1 dominating victory for Boise State?
I mean, definitely very fun to watch them and how they've been doing. I gotta say, I'm just having fun in the chat with all the virtual cowbells, interacting with everybody. That is a nice solace. Like you said, if you're going to be quarantined, you might as well have some fun with it. And a lot of people in the chat are definitely having fun.
And Glovely, what is your takeaway?
I mean, get as much fun as you can for yourself when you're in quarantine. Sometimes it's nice to distract yourself from the world going insane, but also like it's good to have a way to interact with each other, to interact with other members of the school in a way that is otherwise not really possible in these troubling times.
And that's the fun part of Twitch chat is you can interact with everybody. It's like you're all standing right next to each other. You're not even quarantined. But as we head into Game 2 here, Boise State on match point, Glovely, how does Bay State come back? Because that game, after about 15 minutes, just completely snowballed for the Broncos.
I think we start by, I think we can safely say you ban the Akali away from Red Hots. Red Hots has been on fire throughout the entire game, putting that Cassiopeia so far behind. Absolute monster on that champion. So that's a champion that you probably want to take away and be him to replace it with something else that's in the similar wheelhouse. Maybe have some sort of backup plan for assassins or something that can jump on top of you.
Yeah, I think those are definitely going to be the keys there. As we take a look at some replays here, and as we were talking about Glovely, I mean, just the ability to punish this Cassiopeia was just huge for Red Hots.
Yeah, I mean, his ability to put that pressure on the mid lane, give himself the ability to not only put that Cassiopeia so far behind for the rest of his team, but it also created pressure in that mid lane and allowed him to roam from side of the map to side of the map and get his other lanes ahead as well.
And I think to that point, I mean, we talked a lot about the Red Hots on the Akali, but Kangi Dopamine, I think, finished this game at 9-1, if not 10-1. I know there were some kills picked up in the base that I wasn't always following, but I mean, as you mentioned, he let his side lanes get completely ahead, and Kangi Dopamine got to the point where he was probably the bigger damage dealer, but you just had to focus on Red Hots so much that I think Bay State just totally forgot about the misfortune.
He did.
Yeah,
he did such a. He did such a good job that he had to land in Twitch chat just to give a shout out to all his fans.
Hey, if you can dominate that
Yeah,
much and go into Twitch chat, that's huge.
I do think it's important to note that Boise State had threats coming from every single lane. Really, only their support and their jungler were not straight-up damage champions and winning their respective matchups. So great job by Boise State.
Let me tell you, Glovely, I will say, Volibear's a damage dealer. Don't kid yourself on that one. Volibear is a huge damage dealer. You just build 6 giant spells, and then your W is going to annihilate everyone. It's a great strategy that I use to high success at my very low elo.
I mean, fair.
That's just basically kind of the general strategy shared with all of us. We all have the great strategies that work out very well at the low elos.
So we talked about what Bay State needs to do, Glovely. So if we assume the Akali is going to be gone, how does Boise State respond to wrap up this series?
I think they continue doing what they did. I think having Woojin on this hyper carry jungler up in the top lane with the Irelia was a really nice and unexpected change from that player. So great job there by Woojin, being able to expand that champion pool, expand the options that you have for you. I do think that they need to try and find a lane that they can put the pressure on, that they can win with. The Shen was not something that was going to be able to play very well into the Irelia, and they weren't using it to create that pressure across the map. They couldn't afford to, because every time they had a solo member out by themselves, they got blown up. I did think we saw some signs of life for them later in the game once they started to group for the team fights, so that might be an avenue that they can try to take advantage of.
Do you think we'll see any of the new changes come out? I mean, we saw Wukong come out. Do you think we'll see the Teemo jungle, maybe the Zyra jungle? I know there's some other junglers that have been sort of intermittently buffed in the last few patches. Do you think we'll see anything new, or do you think maybe we'll see back to just normal, regular picks that we're used to?
I mean, I think you all know exactly what jungler I'd like to hope for. But the Teemo is technically an option. We did see that. I don't think the Wukong did terribly during the course of that game. It certainly did get a lot of...
As you're joining us here, it is Boise State League of Legends versus Bay State. Boise State won game 1, and now we are heading on to game 2. And as you have not noticed yet, we are doing a nice little fun setup here. Fish here on the desk with Gem Mountain and Glovely joining us on Skype from their respective locations. We are going to see the Varus band pinned away there by the side of Bay State. I'm not sure what they have against Varus, but they do not want to see that played.
I mean, he is a great champion in terms of being a poke out his lane opponent. Just brings a lot of damage to the team. Both AD and AP has versatility in his build. Zillion's going to be banned away.
I'm very curious that Boise State's been banning away Zillion, because they're the team that we've seen play so much Zillion. Red Hots has been a huge player on Zillion when his main picks are taken away, but it looks like they don't want to see it. Same bans actually for Boise State and for Bay State right now. That's shocking. I know Set's really strong, but this has to be an Akali ban. If it's not, I would be very, very, very surprised.
I mean, we have seen just what a powerful champion Set can be, bringing the true damage, especially on that Haymaker, being able to reposition entire team fights with his showstoppers. So that might be something that they're afraid of.
He's really powerful. I mean, I've gone on and on about how Zach being banned just canceled everything I thought about, because that means Akali's on the board still. I mean, I know you sometimes don't want to pick Akali first because she has some counters, but after what we just witnessed, leaving Akali on the board, unless they plan to first pick it here, just blows my mind.
I'm not entirely sure Red Hots is that confident. There are a lot of champions that could potentially shut him down. The Cassiopeia might have been their attempt at an answer, though, so Boise State might be calling a bluff.
Well, it looks like it's the Soraka hover for now. I would assumedly be a support. Riot has done nearly everything in their power to remove the Enchantresses in the top lane. Or they can go with Ornn not being banned away this time. Boise State banning the Lucian, interestingly enough. And Orn, we've seen the power of Woojin on it. The extra gold he provides, the utility, the damage he does for a tank. That is a very good pick for the side of Bay State. And a Fiora pick for Boise State. This is incredible. This is not something we're used to seeing from the Broncos, if that is indeed a top lane Fiora, with Bard being picked, what you can assume to be for the support.
I mean, even if that's a mid lane Fiora, that's not a champion that we've seen Boise State really play at all. Definitely a hyper carry champion who, if she gets ahead, can really take over a lane and the game. Incredible split push potential if you go for the Tiamat build, which is the most common build that I've seen on Fiora. So overall, we're seeing a big shift from Woojin in his champion pool.
I mean, I would just say go for it. I mean, this is a show match. Give people an entertaining show, and certainly with Bard and the win can play Bard, if we assume it's going to him. He's very entertaining with how he can use stuff like the Magical Journey to just completely wow me every time I watch him.
Now, if we go with the Gem Mountain logic, it's a show match. Teemo Jungle should be locked in first pick by either team.
Exactly.
That should be what we're going to see there. Not the case, though. The Leona going to be the support pick for Bay State, and Boise State said, if it ain't broke, why fix it? They're going to hover over that misfortune. I have to assume that's going to be the pick. They've had a lot of success with it, but right as I talked them up about it, they flip all over the place. They're going to go with Jinx, but they are going to go with another one of those hyper carry ADCs.
All right, guys, don't ban Teemo. Don't ban Teemo. Don't ban Teemo.
I think a Teemo ban would blow my mind more than a Teemo pick at this point, Glovely. As you do see in the chat there, if you're confused what's going on with everything happening in the world, the quarantines, the social distancing, we are doing our best here at Boise State. I am alone in the studio, as you can see in your bottom right. Nobody is here but my two-man production crew, and then Gem Mountain and Glovely are joining me from their respective houses there, so we can have the full broadcast experience, but also make sure we monitor the recommendations by our local and federal government to stay safe.
Laws are important, kids. Follow them.
Exactly. We see the bans coming out. The Wukong ban. Come on. I want to see more of this new Wukong. I'm still not convinced Riot's done anything to fix the 200 years meme. The Victor going to be banned away. Sejuani, of all the champions that got a respect ban, Sejuani was probably the last one I was expecting. And then the Hecarim banned away, so really targeting down that Boise State jungle of medicine.
Yeah, and of course we do have to consider that Hecarim did get a buff so that the longer range he reaches with his ultimate, the more he's going to be rewarded for it through fear duration. It looks like the Echo is going to be hovered and locked in for Boise State.
I do like that Echo pick. He can really go. It's a classic Boise State pick in terms of the flex. He can go mid or he can go jungle, so you really don't know what you're picking against. Bay State being forced to commit to a mid laner pick, not knowing what Red Hots is going to be playing. You can think it's Echo, but you make a wrong pick. Red Hot still has the ability to switch. You put medicine on the Echo, and you're not going to notice a difference.
So there's the Silas. So on the side of Bay State, we do see that there's a lot of pick potential coming out between the Leona, the Silas, and the Kaisa. So maybe that's the sort of style of play that they're looking for in the second game.
I will say when I look at Silas with the Zoe picked in as well, I like to think that Silas is a great pick when there's powerful ultimates to steal. I know you have the Echo ultimate to sort of heal yourself, but I don't see that game-changing ultimate that I could see Cow stealing and then everybody just losing their mind when he uses it properly. So I do think that is one of the limitations with Silas. If there's not very strong ultimates on the other side, he does lose some of his power, in my opinion.
And we do see Zoe is going to be a recent pick. Kind of interesting history with our casters and their history with the character, specifically one in particular going from like most hated character to a mindset of if you can't beat him, join him.
Yeah, Zoe is one of those
the last
champions.
pick for Boise State is good. Is going to be the Yasuo. I do think that's a very interesting choice because he doesn't have any knockups for himself on the rest of his team. Fiora, Echo, Jinx, Bard, they have plenty of crowd control between them, but Yasuo is the only one with a knockup, so Red Hots is going to be very reliant on himself to trigger his ultimate.
Hey, when you're a confident Yasuo player, you don't need anybody else, Glovely, right? That's what my solo queue teammates seem to think. They don't need any knockups. They're going to do it themselves.
I mean, that's the reason why I seem to have 4 AD champions in every single game I'm playing.
So as we have everything
I mean, really, you've got to step up and be the person who just charges in blindly for your team. Because if the enemy team is all eliminated, then your team won't be eliminated. It's perfect logic. It works out all the time.
That is a great gamer tip. Thank you, Gem Mountain. If you're struggling with an enemy, just let their health hit 0 before your health hits 0, and you'll be always victorious. Great loading screen tip that somebody could put in there. You are watching Boise State versus Bay State in League of Legends, a fun little show match here to have some fun with everything going on. And a little bit different, none of the players are here. I, Fish, am the only person in the studio along with my very, very skeleton production team, and then Gem Mountain and Glovely joining me from the power of the internet to bring you this. As we get to our midterm progress report here, we still got to make sure everything looks and sounds very similar. I will start it off here with the lineup and the bands for Boise State. I have to give it an A+. They picked very aggressive champions against a very slow lineup of the side of Bay State, and I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, I'll go with Fish and Glovely. Oh, hey, hi. How are you all doing? It's a beautiful day right now.
So we are having some fun here. Once we go to the report card, the audio gets shut off. So I can just give my full grades down, and we could. Oh, all right, all right. Where everybody's here now. So Glovely, why don't you go?
Well, looking at vision control, they really did control the map very well, and they caught out a lot of dangerous ganks before they happened. So I'm going to give them an A there as well.
I mean, hey, just keep this A tray rolling. Keep the, especially with such a good performance that they did. Let's just keep the positive energy moving here.
Yeah, I'll give them an A as well. I think they never really were caught off guard by the side of Bay State. I will end the A train here, though. I'm going to go with a B+ for objective control. They did hand over a couple of dragons, and a couple of them were uncontested. So for Boise State, I will knock down that train.
Yeah, I do agree. They didn't get everything there, although I am going to be a bit more positive than Fish because I think positivity is a really big thing here. So I'll go B++.
Wouldn't that just be an A-? And I think that's what's going to be my goal as well. I think that not only did they do, even if they did miss a couple of dragons uncontested, but they especially took great usage of that Rift Herald. Every time they dropped it, they made sure that they got at least one tower out of it. Now, looking at time management, of course, Boise State, like I said, had a lot of great tempo across the map. They were able to roam their champions from lane to lane and pick up objectives there. So A+ from me.
All right, so it was interesting. Sorry, I was taken a bit off guard by apparently Glovely. It seemed like he was giving I'm asleep grade for that. But I'll agree with Glovely, especially toward the end of the game. Boise Pass has had a few instances where they kind of tried to play with their food and just go for these showy plays, but that wasn't the case here. So they ended the game when they needed to, A+.
Yeah, I'll agree with you guys there on time management and A+. They realized they had to end it early, and they did just that, absolutely squashing any comeback chance for Bay State. And team fights, I'd have to give them an A. They did a fantastic job winning almost every single team fight. Got a little dicey there, and some points I'll lose the plus, but I'll still stick with an A.
All right, and this is for Chizu in chat. Give them for the team fight the @ symbol _ another @ symbol. That's my grade for team fights.
I'm going to follow up on Fish. I think they had great team fights, so I will give them the A, but I'm not going to give them the plus because they did lose some very crucial shutdowns over the course of some of those fights they could have very easily avoided.
And we're going to hop right into the game. Full invade comes out from the side of Bay State, but Boise State easily able to walk away. And now we are going to see just some swaps up of the Summonos here. It looked like some different champions on some different players. That's what was catching me off guard. We have seen Cal swap down to the AD carry and ADC Pepega switching his name up, going to the mid laner there. So very interesting to see as the double stun's going to come out from Dean that we've seen a mid-game swap of the AD carry and the mid laner for Bay State.
Yeah, one thing I do think is worth noticing is Dean got so much out of that trade there, not just in terms of the damage and the pressure that he created there for his team, actually forcing them to back up a little bit, but on top of that, he's picking up gold because of summoner spell, or not the summoner spell, the item he has, the Spell Thief's Edge. So he was getting gold for every single one of those spells and auto attacks.
And I do want to point out here that I do see the Dark Harvest on Medicine in the Echo Juggle, one of the more traditional keystones, but it does mean he has to gank early to make that worthwhile. He has to sort of proc that. So I'll be very curious to see how aggressive he wants to go. Does he go the blue Gromp level 2 gank immediately on bot side, or does he eventually just roam right up to top side and try to use that early Fiora damage? But bringing Dark Harvest to me says he's not content farming. He wants a bunch of kills.
Yeah, definitely does signal a much more aggressive style of play there, as we do see all of the lanes trying to just go for their early trades. Fiora doesn't have the ability to just straight up blow up an Ornn very early on. She is going to need a little time, so we do see an engagement here. Red Hot's actually just going to dive in, does commit the flash, loses one in exchange, dashing around this Sylas. Is he going to get out? Here's time for the Echo, who manages to come in. Parallel Convergence gets the stun. First blood to the Echo.
Huge block there as well by Medicine. I don't know if that Zoe Q would have hit, but it did have the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto Red Hot, so that damage could have come through to even that trade. But a great job there by Red Hot. He's on these picks that we usually see taken away from him. Base State lets him have the Akali, lets him have the Yasuo, and he has been shining, putting a ton of damage down. That Zoe had no chance, and then a great job using the mobility of Yasuo to dodge around until Medicine could come in and pick up that first kill.
Yeah, great play by them. Now let's see what they're going to use with that pressure that they've now put on their mid lane. First gank did go over to the Echo, and more importantly, he did get that Dark Harvest stack himself. I think that at this point, they're just going to have to continue to pressure in that mid lane. Zoe does have the lane advantage over this Yasuo. That's what happens when it's melee versus range.
Zenith Blade and Stun is going to land onto Dean. He's forced to flash away. Can't get Dopamine, though. Has his eyes on a kill. The flash is going to come out from Kaisa. Not able to get in range. Leona able to walk away. The tankiness. The stun is going to land. Ignite will come out. A minion's going to assist blocking there. So a huge trade for Boise State in the bot lane. Unfortunately, though, no kills are going to be picked up. Medicine wants to continue it. We talked about that Dark Harvest. He's going to jump in. Stun not quite able to land onto the Ornn, though. He is able to walk away, but Boise State getting a ton of huge trades.
It's a bit of a show of how much of a reputation Dean has already. We're not even into the match that much, and already people are cheering him on because they know Dean plus Bard is going to equal a good show.
See a couple of fights breaking out. Kiori is going to jump onto Woojin, waiting for that Fiora lifesteal that makes it so hard to take her out in the lane. And now we could have a fight onto the Scuttles. The Smite did go out from Double the Great. He is going to jump onto Kanki. Don't mean land the stun as well. Walks over to the Magical Journey, goes through as he gets stunned by the Leona, and that was enough to save him. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Woojin is dropping very, very low. Ornn does not have a lot of mana, though. Woojin might be able to get away from this one. He gets an extra heal from hitting the vital point. Double flash going to come out as well. And unfortunately, Ornn is going to pick up the kill in a very extended chase. Now Red Hot has to run away from Zoe here. Leona is in tow. No damage going to come out from that Q, and Boise State should be able to survive, just losing one.
They are definitely looking for him. Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes out, trying to find it in the jungle, but he's able to get away. Dean is here, does land an auto attack. Not able to completely finish off the elimination there, but Magical Journey away, dodges the Zenith Blade just barely.
Zoe, for the second time today, is going to live on very, very low HP, unfortunately for Boise State. Doing a good job sticking up in farm, though, here. Big disparity down in the bot lane, though. 20 CS difference for Kaisa and Jinx, so can't get Dopamine. Definitely going to have his work cut out for there. The Kaisa has not backed either, so might be able to back for a huge buy with the double longsword on the side of Can't Get Dopamine as well. So for Boise State, that Kaisa could be the problem. Last time Ezreal became a little bit of a problem, but this time it could be the AD carry once again. It's just a different summoner.
So now that we're looking at the team drafts all set in stone, based on what we saw last game of Boise State not necessarily having the most control of the objectives, giving some of them up, what are we looking for in the Dragons that would be what Boise State most wants to get and what they really wouldn't want Bay State to get?
I would have to say for Boise State, I mean, you don't want to see Bay State get the Earth Dragon just because that shield can eliminate your ability to do that quick assassination. on the Yasuo. It slows down your damage. A great parry there from Woojin is going to land the stun. And it just makes Ornn just almost unkillable at this point. So anything but an Earth Dragon. I mean, you never want to lose any dragon, but I would think Earth Dragon is the last thing they want to see Bay State picking up the soul for. See a little bit of damage coming out there. Here is a replay from earlier in the game, the first blood being picked up. The first time Zoe dropped very, very low, and just a great mechanical play here by Red Hots, jumping to every minion imaginable. The stun then lands onto Devil the Grey. He doesn't stand a chance. Flash blown as well. That was a huge play, and then the block right at the end there by Medicine was also huge. As we jump back right now in live action, Zoe is there, the Ornhorn as well. A great wind wall by Red Hots might block it, but it doesn't matter. He's still going to get stunned. So a great wind wall blocks the Ornhorn, but it does not matter. A kill goes over to Bay State. Your lineup there on your screen. A little bit of a change from what you might be used to if you've watched Boise State League of Legends before. We do have Dopamine replacing Gimmick in the bot lane and Medicine shifting over to the jungle role, so everything else is a bit familiar. And yes, that is actually Woojin. I know if you see Fiora in the top lane, you might think something crazy has happened, but that's not the case. Speaking of Trouble Bubble is going to land onto Medicine. He's so close to killing that Zoe. Is she going to go 3 for 3 and surviving with low health? Yes, she will, with a thanks shout out to the heal, and that is going to be a very alive Zoe. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Etor is going to jump on to Dean. Here comes Devil the Grey. He's going to help his AD carry pick up that kill, and Boise State going to drop behind early now in the kill department. We do see there in the Twitch chat, Kaisa is such a needy laner. I feel like he should have chosen a more dominant laner. Hey, there you are, Glovely. Welcome back.
Hello, sorry about all that. I am figuring out things as far as my internet goes, making sure that I can actually view everything in real time and not be lagging behind everybody else.
We're all adapting to the situation. No hard feelings, Lovely. So now that you're back in real time, what have you seen here from the side of Bay State with such an early lead?
At this point, it's really dangerous for Boise State to allow them to get ahead because
it looks like we might be experiencing some still technical difficulties there. Meanwhile, we do see a duel coming out. The stun is going to land onto Red Hots here. He is going to be bailed out by Dean, trying to jump onto Devil the Grey here. Ignite's going to come out, flash over the wall. And now we are going to see a kill land onto the Zoe. Fight wants to continue. Stun going to land onto Woojin there. The pair that is going to come out and keep everybody alive and get the double stun. We are going to see, it looked like that was a stolen Bard all go on to Dean, but it did not land, so that is going to keep him alive. So Boise State just losing one. Boise State now looks like we might see another dragon handed over to the side of Bay State, just like in the first game. It is that ocean dragon that has to be handed over. Boise State, unfortunately, losing after winning early in the game, has lost a couple of these fights, and really the difference has been that AC Papega has just been surviving. I think he is 3 for 3 surviving with below 20%, so he has done a great job. I mean, the difference between being 2-0 and 0-3 is that small for that mid liner, and that has changed it because you would not want to see Red Hots on his 3-0 Yasuo. So for Boise State, just trying to survive through the early game once again here. Now we see the Kaisa is very, very far ahead, at least in terms of kills and items. So for Boise State, has to be concerned about that kill potential, especially with the Leona now, not with Etor, not having to rely on the positioning of his AD carry to stay alive when he played that Yuumi that last game. We do see, meanwhile, though, Woojin is pushing up in the top lane, going to pick up one of those plates with some shout out to Demolish there, so some extra gold. Might even pick up a second one. Yes, he will, so that will be huge in getting him some of those bigger items, potentially finishing that Tiamat, maybe going for some more lifesteal. Keorio wants to go in on that. He's going to sound the Ornhorn. It's going to land. The knockup is going to land. He is going to get the shatter damage as well. Devil the Grey is there. Double flash is committed. Nothing is going to come out, so Boise State able to bait out the Ornn ultimate there. Dean is going to get caught out. Magical Journey's over the wall. The traps are not going to be able to land on anybody. But unfortunately for Boise State, they're putting a lot of poke damage on, but the fights are not going their favor. You see the Sleepy Trouble
Boise
Bubble
State-
landed onto Red Hots there. Some damage came out, but not enough to get the kill. And we do see there for Boise State, they do still have the gold lead, though, as somebody pointed out in the chat, so they still are ahead in that one for Boise. So for Boise State, they can have solace in that they are technically ahead. The Manamune has been finished at 11 minutes for Kaisa, though, so that power spike is going to be very, very huge. Medicine wants to jump onto Kyoria there. He does have Woojin following behind. They are going to pop the Fiora ult there as well to open up all those vital points. Hiding against the wall is not going to do enough. Boise State picks up their second kill. That one's going to go over to Woojin.
But the eliminations they're getting are going on to these tanks. Boise State doesn't have the ability to become more durable as the game goes on. They are entirely reliant on their ability to chew through these tanks. And that's what's causing them to struggle in these early game team fights, is they just don't have the items necessary to put out the damage onto these tanks yet.
Ton of damage going on to Red Hots there. That Zoe poke can be just incredible there. Boise State has to be wary of a dive in the bot lane, but it looks like for now Daniel DeGray wants, or Devil DeGray wants to focus all of his damage onto Woojin. Going to pick up a plate, so he is one plate away from getting that first turret. That is a huge difference in the gold. Not only is he 20 CS up, but he has 4 solo plates, and nobody else in the game except for mid lane has any.
Now, in terms of dragons, we can see that Ocean has already been taken. That means, I don't know if, due to connection problems, I wasn't able to see what the second one is going to be, but it does make it more concerning for Boise State, as we were talking earlier about how the Mountain Drake, if that's the third dragon, and Bay State has opportunity after opportunity to get it, that's not a good turn of events for Boise State.
I'll be curious to see if ADC Protego wants to try and fight here with that redemption that he just used. It can change very early fights because it's not an item you would expect the Zoe to have. Of course, able to pick up random items and summoner spells from minions that she kills. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to land, but the Wind Wall not able to block it. He's going to take down Red Hots on that Yasuo. Meanwhile, Medicine wants to jump onto Devil the Great. He is going to land the stun. Zenith Blade stun, not going to be soon enough from E-Tour, so that is a kill picked up onto Echo. He will be able to try and disengage. Boise State might want more, though. Stun and Solar Flare are going to come out. Sleepy Trouble Bubble as well. Can't ult through that one. So for Boise State, they'll pick up a kill, but they will give up 2.
Yeah, overall, not a great trade there from Boise State. It was great that they tried to make something happen, but unfortunately, they were doing it in the middle of the enemy jungle where they didn't have the vision, weren't able to see the additional roams, and unfortunately, the Yasuo has a really hard time preventing the roaming, Zoe from doing anything.
Do you see that? Zoe has the Dark Seal with 8 stacks. I'll be very curious to see if that is going to get upgraded into a Magi Soul Stealer the way that he has been playing, though I wouldn't fault him for doing that, especially with his ability to survive. You get that extra movement speed, get maybe a couple extra steps on your Q if you're able to do that. So that is going to be something to pay attention for here. And Glovely, as we sort of stall out here, actually never mind. Magical Journey is going to go on to Zoe. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to land onto Bard. He's going to ult himself, so Dean can't be taken down. A flash as well. A great job there, turning a gank into a survival routine for Boise State. But I do have to ask Lovely, how can the Broncos get back in this game? Because it just feels like they have no answer for the Zoe right now.
At this point, they need to find options for themselves to get these carry champion down, especially the Zoe, who now is starting to catapult herself into the lead. Because there's so much emphasis on Bay State's tanks to absorb all that damage, if you can take out the carries, then they don't have any damage coming off from their side. So that's the advantage of Boise State's 5-threat composition.
I will say, while I did say Boise State was behind you, say they have the gold lead as Woojin is going to jump onto Kyoria. They're trying to hit those last 2 vitals, but Orange just a little bit too fast. Is he going to be able to survive? No, he is not. Woojin's going to pick up another kill, so he's been doing a fantastic job. Riftail dropped in the mid, is going to get the charge off here. Boise State might want to surround if they can. They have to be very careful of that. Zoe Slumpy Trouble is going to land. Medicine's health bar just evaporates there, not able to ult. Solar Flare is going to land onto a couple. Magical Journey might be enough to save Dean as Woojin gets the first turret, and he realizes his goal is to split push this game. No Rift Herald, no Scuttles taken away there, and that is going to be the Cloud Dragon handed over for free to the side of Bay State with no jungler alive for Boise State. So that is going to mean that it's either Infernal or the dreaded Mountain Drake as our third dragon here. We will see momentarily what it's going to be. I think Boise State has to be hoping it's Infernal. It is. That's still going to be a lot of damage, though. It's the best of the two worst cases, so I'll be curious to see how Boise State wants to handle this. But Red Hot's dropping very low. Devil the Gray trying to go in. He is going to get stunned, but I think Red Hot's might just be too low to follow up here. We are going to see the Bard ult is going to land onto 2. The Sleepy Trouble Bubble comes in. The Jinx Rocket is going to be blocked. He'll Magical Journey away. And it looks like for Boise State, once again, those health bars are flashing red, but no one's going to be able to find a kill. Oh, the flash from Kankidomi at the last moment. But I think that's going to be a dead Red Hots. Yes, it is. Woojin is here, though. He wants to jump onto Zoe, has to flash away. Magical Journey comes out, so a huge scattered fight ends up in a 1-for-1.
It was great that they were able to get their bot lane ahead, get that Jinx scaling, because she really needs to hit that sort of free crit item power spike. Unfortunately, though, losing Red Hot side once again to the Zoe, who has just been unstoppable in this game.
Yeah, I do think I wanted to make a comment about the gold lead. While Boise State has the gold lead, that gold is almost entirely onto Woojin. He got 5 solo plates, and he has the farm advantage. So while Boise State is up by 2K, about 1,000 of that gold is purely on Woojin. So if he's not in fights, if he's split pushing, that gold is basically null and void. And oh, by the way, as soon as Ornn hits level 13, now it was changed in the patch, they did nerf it just a little bit, but as soon as Ornn hits level 13, he gets those Mastercraft items unlocked for his team, and that is immediately going to evaporate any sort of gold lead Boise State has. You won't see it on the scoreboard, but when you see those Masterwork items, you know it exists.
Yeah, you really have to be careful. Particularly, you have to be careful of the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. That's where we've seen a number of Boise State's members getting caught out because of the additional damage that you get on the Paddle Star whenever that Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands. And they don't have any tanks on the side of their squad to be able to survive that. Meanwhile, we see the Call to Forge God. Here's a fight.
We're going to see the ult's going to go onto Leona. Perfect target, so Boise State gets that extra healing. Trouble Bubble is going to land. A great job by Woojin, though, to parry on that. They're going to jump onto Ornn. And just like that, Boise State's going to turn that fight. Zoe's going to put in some chip damage, but it's not enough. The Broncos might be able to pick a kill. Trouble Bubble is going to land. There goes Dean from half health. The Tornado is going to miss. Medicine wants to jump in on the back line, though. Devil the Gray is trying to jump onto Woojin. Medicine has to jump back into real time. Woojin is dropping very, very low. Zoe's trying to put any damage on she can. Devil the Gray goes over the wall. The Tornado lands the knockup as well. Zoe is finally going to go down on low health. Boise State completely capitalizing on a very poor fight taken by Bay State. They're going to get 3.
And on top of that, they're going to pick up the Rift Herald for themselves. That'll allow them to get additional tower pressure that they weren't getting otherwise, and also maintaining their own tower because they didn't even have Jinx in that fight. So it was a 4 versus 4 for Boise State, and they're going to pick up that victory.
Yeah, they were loving that.
Was the real turning point of that fight you could see was there was kind of almost a disengage going, but then the Zoe decided to get kind of one pick off using the Paddle Star after Sleepy Trouble. Well, that caused Boise State to re-engage and get even more eliminations.
And as you mentioned, Jim Mountain, we'll see it right here. It was a pickup with the Paddle Star. Actually, we'll skip forward. It was onto Dean, though. So if there is a member Boise State has to be perfectly okay trading, it would be Dean. He is the support. He is level 8, so it's not going to be as much gold. And for Boise State, getting that shutdown onto Red Hots, getting all of that gold onto their carries, that is a huge thing. So that was a huge team fight win for Boise State. You loved how that went. You got the Ornn Horn, you got the engage, and you still were able to pick apart that fight.
It's like in chess, you know, sometimes your opponent might want to try to go and capture something, but if you're willing to trade, you know, your knight for capturing the enemy's queen, then that's something you're willing. And then the way that the Zoe just kind of wanted to get the pick off of Dean, it allowed Boise State to get shutdowns and much more fortuitous for them.
I'll be very curious to see here, and Glovely, you can chime in on this. What should Woojin do? I mean, Fioro, he's got the Ravenous Hydra there. His split pushing would be incredible. Before we get to that, a jump on the Cow. He is going to be able to avoid the stun teleport. Is coming in from the back line there, but they might not even need it. Medicine dropping very low. He'll shift back in time, and he will survive, but that means the teleport's blown from Woojin. And now the rest of the members could collapse from Bay State, but a great job there by Boise State picking up that Kaisa.
At this point, what I think that Boise State can do, never mind, Call the Forge God.
The fight's going to go. The stun is going to land on the can't get dopamine. The members of Bay State have him in their sight. Solar Flare, Zenith Blade combo going to land, and Red Hots is just going to cease to exist. Medicine's going to jump in on the Orn. Nobody's focusing down the Zoe right now. We are going to see a double or an alt land from Bard there, but right now nobody's on Zoe. Going to have to see the Zanya's used there by Medicine as well. Boise State now re-engaging. Woojin dropping very low. Stopwatch going to be used by Etur. Orn dropping very low in the background. Kekidomi's going to pick up one. A second one is going to go over to Woojin. So Boise State picks up two, but you have to question the target acquisition there because Zoe just could do whatever she wanted, and we had to see a Zanya's come out to keep people alive.
Yeah, it's really difficult with Boise State's composition to be able to get on top of that Zoe. The only champion who can really get into range is the Echo for them. And they're so reliant on that Echo to be able to land the crowd control, to get his full combo off, but he hasn't been able to do it. These parallel convergences haven't been finding the targets that they need to.
Boise State's going to jump on to the Dragon there. We are going to see, looks like it is going to be secured by Boise State. Zoe dropping very low. We are going to see the magical journey from Dean. Cow is going to take the killer instinct, and he's going to pay for it with his life. He's going to go down. So Boise State, once they've hit this mid game, they've just turned things around.
And in the grand scheme of things, how important do you think picking up that Infernal Drake was? Kind of the first dragon Boise State was able to get after also getting the Rift Herald as well.
I think it's absolutely crucial. Looking at Boise State's lineup, every single one of them is trying to be a big damage threat. And Dean, who, let's be honest, is a big damage threat on just about anything in the game. I think that this Infernal Drake is going to give them that additional ability power, and especially if they continue to stack it, Infernal Soul could in fact be a win condition for this team.
Yeah, and I would say the biggest thing is denying Bay State from being on Soul Point. That's even bigger than any of the bonuses it gives, is because now you have a dragon to play with if you lose a team fight, or if someone's out of position, or if it teleports down on Woojin, you can say, hey, just give him the dragon, maybe transition over to Baron. So just denying the pressure of Bay State always being on Soul Point, I think that's almost more vital than anything. But I do want to revisit my point I had earlier, Glovely. What should Woojin do? I know he's 6-1. He has a ton of gold for this Boise State team, but he's also Fiora, one of the better split pushers in the game. Is it better to just have him split push, or should he be in all these fights, jumping in on the back line of Bay State?
Boise State has seen fit to set him down to the bottom lane, and I think that's a play. He uses a Fiora to open up the map and to continue creating pressure so that there's a lot more wondering of Bay State. Where is Boise State? Where are their members? Where are the Broncos? We have to know where they are. You create this pressure on the map just by taking these towers and giving yourself more room for your team to run around in. And additionally, the smaller that map gets, the easier it will be for the Fiora to roam and help the other lanes. And now we see he's getting 2 towers out of this just because Boise State was willing to back off and delay for his team.
You mentioned the pressure he can put on the indecisiveness of Bay State. At one point, we saw the Orn channeling the back, decided against it. Don't know if it was a miscommunication. Don't know if they said he's going to back away. Boise State, as you can see in the chat there, does have a 6K gold lead, but that will start to evaporate just a little bit once these Masterwork items start to come online for the Orn. Each of those is worth about 1,000 gold. We are going to see a stun land onto Etor. He is forced to flash away. Ignite's going to land as well. Dean is going to pick up that one. A perfect ult's going to land onto Kaisa, and he is going to go down as well. Boise State absolutely capitalizing, and now we see the Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to land. A full-man block squad comes out for Dopamine, and Boise State might have their eyes set on the Baron. Call of Forge God is going to land a perfect parry by Woojin. He's going to pop his ult right onto Orn, who dives back to tower safety, but that might not be enough. He needs one more vital spot in order to proc the healing. It's not going to matter, and the rest of the Broncos are on to Baron. Red Hot's immediately going to jump on, lands 2 up in the air, immediately ults. There goes the Zoe. Good night. Healing's not going to save you either. Boise State baits him into Baron, picks up 2. Woojin goes bot lane, and that's a Baron for Boise State.
We just saw in the chat, Chizu was commenting that he had to run down to the corner store, and as soon as he comes back, the entire match is flipped around.
So he was the bad luck charm then.
Okay, Fish said it, Chizu. I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Fish said it.
And there's a commercial.
Right.
Go ahead, Glovely.
Well, Baron Nashor now picked up for the side of Boise State, and I think that fight was really turned around because Red Hots was able to get access to the Tornado, using the Baron to proc the Seal Tempest able to give that to himself, caught 2 members on it, and then Boise State was able to just follow up from there.
I'll just say there's a certain commercial for a beverage that says sometimes when you're the good luck charm, that means sitting in the bathroom while your team wins. So you got to do what you got to do, Chizu. You're just a team player. Nothing against you. We just got to do what's best for the squad. As you see there in the replay, Boise State baiting everybody into Baron, and Woojin just split pushing his heart out, doing a fantastic job on a more aggressive top laner. Something we're not used to him seeing, and he's been playing fantastically well in both games so far. You see there
Boise
the Baron
State now
buff.
has Baron buff on multiple members there, and is now able to continue pressuring these lanes. So once more, the Baron buff becomes this huge threat. Woojin able to continue putting even more pressure there. Blue turret destroyed. So top lane now completely under Woojin's control. It is now, what, 7 towers to 1?
Yeah, that's also a huge part of that goal. And Chizu understands. He said he's like that Kansas City Chiefs fan who left the game early because their team was down by 24 points. They ended up coming back and winning. And hey, he got a shout out from Patrick Mahomes. So everybody recognizes their role. Sometimes it's not the sexy role you want to have, but let's just say, you know, if you accept your role, it's a great job for a team. Second Infernal picked up for Boise State. And really, after a slow mid-game, everything has gone their way.
Well, I would say something a little closer to home with that analogy would be the Boise State fan who left during the Fiesta Bowl versus Oklahoma State before that big comeback.
Yeah, everybody has their role. Everybody has to, you know, sometimes you just got to accept you're the hype man. You're the hype man. Chizu, we go away. We got to make sure you come back from the corner store ready to go and ready to enjoy this Bronco victory. For now, Boise State trying to find their win condition, pushing mid with those Baron buff minions. We do see Woojin in the top lane as well. He's going to push by himself. He does have the teleport available, so for Boise State, getting as many inhibitors as possible with this Baron I think is huge, because sometimes we've seen them get Baron, they haven't always been able to capitalize on it. Huge damage is going to come out on the Dean. Kaldior, Forge God is going to land, but no engage follows up, so Boise State gets that huge ultimate out of the way.
Yeah, the global pressure that Boise State is able to assert with this Baron buff is enormous now. They're just bullying Bay State into their own base.
Red Hot's taking a little bit of damage, is going to be able to disengage. Stun is going to land onto Etor. Solar Flare is not going to land onto anyone. You're going to see a turret picked up. Mid inhibitor is going to go down. Bot inhibitor's gone down as well. Medicine's going to teleport back in time and get that huge heal. Etor is going to go down. Boise State just divide and conquer right now. The top inhibitor goes down as well. All three are down. Toothy Trouble Bubble is going to land on Red Hot, but a huge knockup saves him from certain death, at least for the time being. Shutdown is going to go over to Kaoria. Cow is going to get stunned by an excellent parry by Woojin. Now he's going to hop onto the Ornate. Double kill. Can Zoe make it away? No, she cannot. Boise State should be able to wrap up this game, and they will. Boise State taking this series 2-0 over Bay State in this show match, and the Broncos doing a great job ending the game, as you see there, Boise State versus Bay State.
I know that we haven't even made predictions for player of the game yet, but I think that Woojin was absolutely instrumental in both of those games. I'm so excited to see what this new playstyle is going to unlock for him. What sort of champions are we going to see from this player going forward?
Yeah, I gotta agree that split push from him was so great. I haven't seen a split push that great since the York that almost was able to rush down Boise State's base a few years ago. But what I can say, yeah, the base race. But yeah, what can I say? Woojin, strength and grace, beauty in the blade, excellent play.
Well, I don't want to just make this all boring, so I'm going to go with Red Hots. I know Game 2 wasn't his game. He got online in the end, but that Akali was absolutely huge. He shut down that Cassiopeia so much she gave up in mid lane. She legitimately quit playing mid lane to go 80 carry in Game 2. Would you make someone rage quit in the middle of a series against you? I'm sorry, you've got to be my player of the game. So Woojin was fantastic, but he didn't make anybody rage quit. Kaoria still came up, so we'll have to see who the player of the game is. We've got 2 Woojins and 1 Red Hots. And you can just give it to everybody on Boise State. They did a fantastic job. As we see who it is here, it is going to be Woojin, so you two can muck it up that I was wrong and you guys were correct.
Hey, that's just a win for the 2 who aren't in the studio right now.
So Woojin is your Idaho Central Credit Union Player of the Game, and the Player of the Game is brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Woojin is the Idaho Central Credit Union Player of the Game. And I even said when the Aurelia got picked in, I thought this was going to be red hots on the Aurelia. This isn't something we've seen Woojin play. He proved me wrong from the start, doing a fantastic job. And as you guys mentioned, really in both games on Champions, we haven't seen him play, just absolutely being a pain in the side of Bay State.
Consideration is that Woojin used to be a mid lane player, so these champions might be something that he's played in a mid lane before. Both Fiora and Irelia have the potential to go there, so maybe this is just him going back to something that he had before, and we just haven't seen him pull out the top lane.
Woojin just popped into saying he didn't even know that top laners could get this award of Player of the Game, to which other people have been saying they're surprised the top lane even exists.
Yeah, with top lane, sometimes when you see Ornn and other champions like that absolutely dominate the meta, it's very easy to remember that top lane's just the guy who buffs the team, maybe gives a support item or two, and then just eventually ends the game with 300 CS, and he's 1, 2, and 35. So Woojin doing a great job, earning the Player of the Game award, playing on Fiora and Aurelia, really blowing everybody's minds here. Everything's different. Everything's different. We got Woojin on carry champs, we've got Fish in the desk, we've got Glovely and Gem Mountain from their homes. Everything's crazy here. Everything's wild. The only thing that stays the same is Boise State picks up a series victory.
Hey, that's some good. That is some really good consistency, and I'm happy that the Boise State winning is the consistency we have. And it looks like we got Rocket League coming up next.
Yeah, it is going to be the All-Star match in Rocket League, the Mountain versus the West. So I'll be very excited to see who's on what squad, how this all breaks down. All-Star matches are always very fun. You're playing for pride. You usually see some really flashy plays because you know there's nothing at stake except for pride. So I'm going to be very excited for an All-Star match in Rocket League.
Now, I do have to give a disclaimer here, since we're going to be calling Rocket League pretty shortly, is that normally, if I'm in the studio, I'm looking at this beautiful big screen, crystal clear display. Here, we're being reliant on internet. Sometimes I'm looking at a good display. Sometimes I'm looking at pixels. So if I'm stumbling a little on the gamer tags, know that I'm doing the best with what I have.
I mean, I understand that completely. I've been watching a 16-bit game of League of Legends over here.
Well, Glovely, before we get to Rocket League,
I knew they say League of Legends could run on anything, but I didn't know they would push it to this extreme.
Well, before we wrap up our League of Legends talk, Glovely, what is your takeaways from Boise State's dominating series victory over Bay State, really dominating Game 1 and then the mini comeback in Game 2?
I think that Boise State tried some new things in this series, and it turned out to work really well for them. I'm excited to see that Woojin now has an answer to all of those hyper-carry top laners that we've seen him struggle against before, and now he's the one bullying the tanks underneath their towers.
Hey, if you can't beat him, join him, right? He's got bullied by so long as Ornn. He says, you know what, Ornn, I'm going to play Fiora, and I'm going to absolutely run you down and dominate. You may pick up the Player of the Game award in the process here, and I'm guessing as we close out League of Legends, we should have potentially the final report card here available for us if we do have that production. Yes, it will. It's coming up on the screen very shortly. It's going to be a pretty easy report card, though, I'm going to have to say. I mean, if I'm going to make a change, I actually don't know if I can. I mean, they still lost a couple of dragons, so I have to leave everything the same. I know they won 2-0, but you got to leave that B+ on there if you're me, so I don't have any problem with my grades.
I do think that their draft was a little weaker just because they didn't have any tools in the early game to keep them alive. They didn't have a tank to engage with, but they had so much threat coming from the members of their team that they were able to make up for it in sheer damage.
Yeah, I don't think I would necessarily change anything from this. I think I'd stay with Fish.
So there you go. There are your final report cards. I have to say, if I have to pick one down there in the bottom, I'll go with Disrupt's other students because there was a lane in both games where a member of Bay State did not have any fun. Game 1, it was mid lane. Game 2, it was top lane. Boise State just absolutely bullying one member of Bay State and really not letting them enjoy a nice game of League of Legends, which is just meant to be enjoyed and never raged over.
Hey, look, Glovely and I
Yeah,
can't
sure.
Glovely and I can't even join you in the same building. We're watching 16-bit League of Legends. I don't know what isn't being disrupted at this point.
If you are just joining us, this is what's coming up next. It's the Mountain versus the West in Rocket League. The Rocket League Mountain West All-Star Series here. So it should be a lot of fun to do that. But before we get to that, we will take a short break, wrapping up everything with League of Legends and getting ready for the next bit.
Since 2016, universities have been adding varsity esports, competitive
I'll be
intercollegiate
right back,
video
Doc.
game teams, with nearly 100 colleges and universities now with official programs. Esports is fast becoming the new college sport. But with any dramatic change comes criticism. How could institutions of higher learning promote something so trivial? But when you look a little closer, esports demonstrates, just like other sports, that it's a pathway to something more.
There's several misconceptions when it comes to esports and its place on the university campus. The first and foremost is that people would say it's not a valuable learning activity. It's not a place where people can learn new job-related skills or maybe get a good industry feel for what's happening outside the university environment. And that's just simply not the case. And all evidence points otherwise. There are so many new jobs. The industry is absolutely booming. People are looking for students that are graduating with experience in things like streaming and technologies, marketing, the whole business side, sponsorship.